Hello and welcome to Storytime with Ranger Nathan. I'm, of course, Ranger Nathan, and I'm a park ranger at Rosie the Riveter, World War II Homefront National Historical Park. Today we'll be reading an awesome book that has a really great parallel to the story that we tell at Rosie the Riveter, and that book is Rosie Revere Engineer by Andrea Beaty, illustrated by David Roberts. We'll be reading today with permission from Abrams Publishing. And we can already see on the cover Rosie Revere with some of her inventions. This is the story of Rosie Revere, who dreamed of becoming a great engineer. In Lila Greer's classroom at Blue River Creek, young Rosie sat shyly, not daring to speak. There is Rosie and her classmates at Blue River Creek with their teacher listening to a story. But when no one saw her, she peeked in the trash for treasures to add to her engineer's stash. And late at night, Rosie rolled up her sleeves and built in her hideaway under the eaves. There's Rosie going through the trash looking for pieces for her engineering projects. Alone in her attic, the moon high above, dear Rosie made gadgets and gizmos she loved. And when she grew sleepy, she hid her machines far under the bed where they'd never be seen. There are all of her inventions. We've got helicopter, multiple rockets, all different kinds of building materials and recycled toys. Just a ton of projects she's working on. When Rosie was young, she had not been so shy. She worked with her hair swooping over one eye and made fine inventions for uncles and aunts, a hot dog dispenser and helium pants. Rosie with her relatives, and she's got some of her inventions, including that hot dog dispenser and helium pants with her uncle floating away. The uncle she loved most was Zookeeper Fred. She made him a hat to keep snakes off his head, from parts of a fan and some cheddar cheese spray, which everyone knows keeps pythons away. There is Rosie's hat. And it's scaring away the snake with string cheese. And when it was finished, young Rosie was proud, but Fred slapped his knee and he chuckled out loud. He laughed till he wheezed, and his eyes filled with tears, all to the horror of Rosie Revere, who stood there embarrassed, perplexed, and dismayed. She looked at the cheese hat and then looked away. I love it, Fred hooted. Oh, I truly do. But Rosie Revere knew that could not be true. She stuck the cheese hat on the back of her shelf, and after that day kept her dreams to herself. There's Uncle Fred, the zookeeper, laughing at Rosie along with all of the snakes at her hat. And that's how it went until one autumn day, her oldest relation showed up for a stay. Her great-great-aunt Rose was a true dynamo who'd worked building airplanes a long time ago. She told Rosie tales of the things she had done and goals she had checked off her list one by one. She gave a sad smile as she looked to the sky. The only thrill left on my list is to fly, but time never lingers as long as it seems. I'll chalk that one up to an old lady's dreams. There is Rosie and her great-great-aunt Rose on the bottom, and on the top there is Rose working on a bomber during World War II. We see her lunchbox up there. It's got the name Rosie on it. That night, as Rosie lay wide-eyed in bed, A daring idea crept into her head. Could she build a gizmo to help her aunt fly? She looked at the cheese hat and said, "No, not I." But questions are tricky, and some hold on tight, and this one kept Rosie awake through the night. So when dawn approached and red streaks lit the sky, young Rosie knew just how to make her aunt fly. There is Rosie tossing and turning in her bed with some of her old inventions on the floor, some old toys, including a couple rockets and a helicopter. She worked, and she worked, till the day was half gone, then hauled her cheese copter out onto the lawn to give her invention a test just to see the ridiculous flop it might turn out to be. We have Rosie hauling her big invention, the cheese copter, out onto the lawn there. You can see how big it is under that tarp. Strapped into the cockpit, she flipped on the switch. The Hello Cheese copter sputtered and twitched. It floated a moment and whirled round and round, then froze for a heartbeat and crashed to the ground. We can see Rosie on her way down with the helicopter, and how it's just barely off the ground. Then Rosie heard laughter and turned round to see the old woman laughing and slapping her knee. She laughed till she wheezed, and her eyes filled with tears, all to the horror of Rosie Revere, who thought, "Oh no, never, not ever again, will I try to build something to sputter or spin, or build with a lever, a switch, or a gear, and never will I be a great engineer." There's Aunt Rose laughing at the crashed helicopter, and Rosie looking on. She turned round to leave, but then Great-Great-Aunt Rose grabbed hold of young Rosie and pulled her in close, and hugged her and kissed her and started to cry. "You did it! Hooray! It's the perfect first try. This great flop is over. It's time for the next." Young Rosie was baffled, embarrassed, perplexed. "I failed," said dear Rosie. "It's just made of trash. Didn't you see it? The cheese copter crashed." "Yes," said her great aunt, "it crashed. That is true. But first it did just what it needed to do. Before it crashed, Rosie, before that it flew." Great Aunt Rose giving Rosie a hug. "Your brilliant first flop was a raging success. Come on, let's get busy and on to the next." She handed a notebook to Rosie Revere, who smiled at her aunt as it all became clear. Life might have its failures, but this was not it. The only true failure can come if you quit. We see Rosie looking into the notebook her aunt has given her, and we've got all different sketches of airplanes, some belonging to Amelia Earhart, other ones with notes about female inventors and female pilots. They worked till the sun sneaked away to its bed. Aunt Rose tied her scarf around Rosie's head and sent her to sleep with a smile ear to ear, to dream the bold dreams of a great engineer. There they both are, working on the copter, with Rosie's hair up, just like the women did in World War II, working on the home front, and a little sign that says "We can do it" is even on the copter. At Blue River Creek, all the kids in grade 2 built gizmos and gadgets and doohickeys too. With each perfect failure, they all stand and cheer. but none quite as proudly as Rosie Revere. There is Rosie cheering on her classmates with all different kinds of inventions. Different helmets and machines. Some of them look very useful, others not so much, but they're all having a good time. The end, with a picture of Rosie with a themed lunchbox there, just like in some of our famous images of the women workers during World War II, and her great Aunt Rose flying away in the copter, leading us to believe that they finished their project. That is the end of Rosie Revere Engineer, a wonderful story about how the women that worked during the home front of World War II continue to inspire us today, and the importance of following your dreams. Thank you so much for joining us on Storytime, and we'll see you again soon.